Now on Bloomberg Intelligence, Munis in Focus.
Yeah, Focus on Munis, brought to you by BAM. Mutual insures municipal bonds that finance essential infrastructure and provides guaranteed income to improve any portfolio. Be part of building America. Invest in
BAM
insured bonds. You got to hit it hard, John Tucker. BAM. I love this sponsor. I love this segment, and gosh darn it, Eric Kazatsky, I love you. I'm so glad you're joining us from Princeton, New Jersey, Bloomberg Intelligence senior munis analyst. Where should we start? I mean, there's so much. I guess the Fed probably is the most boring place, but the most obvious place to start. Yesterday did exactly what we expected and didn't really give us any kind of outlook, with the exception of, taking out one phrase that they're not totally sure inflation is still on the right path. What was your assessment of Jay Powell's meeting?
Completely benign, right? And the market sort of reacted like that. I think the bigger issue is, the bigger issue is the election and the results after the election, as opposed to the Fed right now, because it's still so top of mind. And it's interesting. It's been a wild week as far as rates, right? But we've had a complete retracement, which at the end of the day really says that the market has no clue what's going to happen from a tax standpoint going forward.
So what's your take on this? How is the election now going to impact municipal bonds, your expertise?
We've been having this question for months, so now we have some definitive, concrete answers as to who won the election, but we're probably 2 months away from finding out whether this is the best thing to ever happen to munis or the worst thing to ever happen to the muni market. It really could go either way, right? So historically, Republicans haven't been that kind when it comes to the tax exemption, and we saw that during the last fight about taxes in 2017 when they tried to get rid of the exemption and pick apart some pieces. They're going to try and extend some of the tax provisions in TCJA, and some of those provisions could come under fire again. We would not be surprised. Do we think the whole exemption is going to go away? No, I really don't think that's a concern. But you could see pieces like higher education definitely come under pressure.
Does it make a difference? Do the other pieces of tax policy make a difference, Eric? Because there's so much, right? Trump has promised he's going to cut taxes. No taxes on tips. No taxes on overtime. No taxes on Social Security. He's going to get rid of the state and local tax deduction cap. Does any of that, or does all of that, make a difference to munis?
Certainly everything on a tangential basis, right? So let's take state and local tax deductions. Obviously, if he takes away the cap there, you would think that demand would be less for places like New Jersey, New York, California. But at the end of the day, the state taxes are still very high in those places, and they're not going down anytime soon. So it would just be a marginal impact. I think the bigger issue is, the Trump administration out there talking about getting rid of the income tax as a whole, right? So pretty crazy idea. Not sure how popular it would be, since it would be, quite regressive, but it would definitely impact our market, because it would, sort of do the same thing as taking away the tax exemption as a whole, right? And so treasuries would all of a sudden, or munis would all of a sudden would find themselves trading like treasuries, as a credit spread product.
Did you know, by the way, Emily Griffeo, you're not old enough to remember this, but in the late 1800s, the U.S. got 90% of its tax revenue purely from taxes on alcohol and tobacco.
I thought you were going to say something else, but wow.
Yeah. Those were the days, right, Eric?
The 1800s. I mean, Eric, are you seeing any fears, though, in municipal bonds that there possibly could be this material change that you talk about with no income
The only
tax?
thing we can measure fear by are credit spreads. And right now the market is saying that there's no fear at all, right? Spreads across our whole muni universe are still at all-time tights. That's revenue bonds, that's general obligation bonds. So really not seeing a palpable fear from investors. And demand is still strong with flows coming in. We're thinking November, has the ability to be a good performing month based on historical returns, but also the fact that muni issuance is really projected to be soft this month, and the cash is still coming back from investors. So pressure on that secondary market is really going to be quite something to see.
What do you think about the moves in rates that we've seen this week? Just like neck snapping from, on the 10-year we were at, I think, 428, and then on Friday we went to 438, shot up to almost 450 on Wednesday, and now we're back to Friday levels. It's like a round trip.
A total round trip. And, munis have had some of that round trip, but to a much lesser degree, right? We shot up with treasuries. We're taking a little bit more time to come back down. To me, that's a buying opportunity because munis always directionally follow treasuries. It just takes us a little longer, right? So if you think that we're going to follow treasuries lower in yield, it would be a good time to sort of look in the market and lock in some more attractive yields right now.
What about Trump's tariffs or his proposed tariffs?
Yeah.
How would that impact muni bonds? And I guess just overall.
Can you look back at the first 0.0 administration of Donald Trump and get any lessons for the second 0.0 administration of Donald Trump?
Well, two separate things there, right? If you're talking about tariffs, you're really talking about, things becoming more expensive for U.S. consumers. So the impact to munis could be, maybe a ding to sales tax collections. But again, it's a complete conjecture right now to sort of try and map that out. If we're taking any lessons from Trump 1.0, it would really go back to the original point we made where Republicans in general have really not been kind to the tax exemption as a whole, really. It's viewed as sort of a giveaway to, more progressive, bluer states. And, it was quite punitive the first time around. Are we going to see a repeat of that again as some of those extensions are attempted to be rolled further out? We really don't know, but hopefully some lessons were learned to be a little bit kinder going forward, right? Fingers crossed.
Eric, you speak to clients all the time who have, clients and Paul Sweeney, who are obsessed with the muni market,
Yes.
who pepper you with questions. Have we asked all of the major ones that they hit you with? Is there something that people want to know out there that Emily and I aren't tuning into?
I think the question is, look, if the economy does soften, where areas that we think could be, more of a concern from a credit standpoint, and we continue to think that those are going to be in the higher education space, especially like, lower credit, standalone liberal arts type universities, healthcare systems that are really sort of thinly funded right now, especially if they're talking about picking apart pieces of the ACA, certainly could impact, that section of our market. Where we could see opportunities or growth really would be in the infrastructure or transportation areas, right? So looking at the forward calendar, even though it's thin, there are a couple of big airport deals coming, one in Houston, one in Maryland. So we think that's going to be an area of growth going forward as, President Trump or President-elect Trump has alluded to this sort of golden age in America. Infrastructure is certainly going to come along with that.
By the way, I think you can call him both President Trump.
Absolutely.
Because,
yes, exactly.
It's just a matter of respect that you call any former president
Yes.
still, and he is also the president-elect. So President Trump is the president-elect.
Yeah.
I wonder if, he has this ability to just completely trash norms, right? In the past, for example, if any municipalities came under threat or Puerto Rico is a problem, you would say that's no problem. It's got the full faith and confidence of the U.S. government behind it. And then during his first administration, that was thrown into question. Do you see yields move? Any yields of places that are in a perilous situation moving lower on that concern or higher on that concern?
No, I think it's really going to be, as talk really turns to sort of how much money is flowing from the federal government to states, certainly attention from investors should be on what states are receiving the most federal dollars coming in, whether it be direct subsidies or subsidies on the Medicaid and healthcare side of things. I think the bigger concern is sort of like what's going to happen if, Elon Musk is actually successful in sort of picking apart a lot of inefficiencies in the federal government and what that really means to, let's say, credits on the local level, like school districts, right? Getting rid of the Department of Education has been something that has been bandied about a few times. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but it's interesting to sort of noodle on how that could affect state and local credits, especially school districts, right?
I think it's something that everyone has ignored. We all focus in on the proposals to bring big tariffs. We all focus in on the mass deportation. Of course, it helps that he had signs that said that at the Republican National Convention. And we all focus in on, the potential tax cuts, but we instantly throw away or ignore the threat of spending cuts. And I guess that's just because no one thinks it's really a possibility. But Elon Musk has done so many things that no one ever thought was possible. I'm old enough to remember when people thought electric car, not going to happen, because the big ICE manufacturers will never let it. And then Musk said, you know what, I'm going to do it anyway. And then someone said, you know what, private space exploration? No way, Jose. And then Elon Musk said, you know what, I'm going to do it. And now he's better at it than Boeing. So, Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see if the Department of Government Efficiency actually gets off the ground. Eric, great spending some time with you. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Eric Kazatsky, senior municipal bonds analyst, coming to us from Bloomberg Intelligence in Princeton, New Jersey.